Vladimir, pistol by your side. Vladimir, you just can't get it right. When you spend your lifetime waking up your whole life story, hoping you would see your name in lights, dancing in the garden, playing death or glory, running with a pistol by your side. There was always music for Vladimir, powerful and strong. Vladimir, everything's gone wrong. Did you used to have a sweetheart or a one and only? Were you ever someone's Mr. Right? Did you spend your weekends shirtless on a horse or a pony and send your sons and daughters off to fight? But there will still be music left to write. Vladimir made the market crash. Now you're on your own, Vladimir. No oligarchs, no cash. And when the Kremlin crumbles to the ground so suddenly, remember everything's your fault. 'Cause everybody saw your finger on the button, you never had your finger on the pulse. But there will still be music, so let's waltz.
Everything that happens, it's not what it seems. Everything around me, conspiracy. Everyone I meet, they're out to get me. Everywhere I turn, conspiracy. Here's a few things I know to be true. Without a doubt, I'm certain, no question about, I gotta believe. And how about you? There was no man on the moon. It's made of cheese, don't you know? The whole thing was staged in a movie studio. You can see the flag wave and the shadows are slanted.
Our whole lives we spent looking at the horizon and it's flat. I mean, it's flat, that's all. That's what the horizon's supposed to look like. And you get up here to orbit, all of a sudden.
And by the way, the Earth is flat, Mars is too. Everything that happens is not what it seems. Everywhere around me, conspiracy. The elections were stolen, 2016 and 2020. Obviously, everything that happens is not what it seems. Everywhere around me, conspiracy. There were so many bullets with JFK. It's all been covered up by the government. They don't want us to know. Everything that happens is not what it seems. Everywhere around me, conspiracy. The Twin Towers came down from kryptonite, or was it thermite? It was an inside job, a demolition by the CIA. Everything that happens is not what it seems. Everywhere around me, conspiracy. Every plane you see when you look to the sky has fat billowy chemtrails to poison us by the government. Everything that happens is not what it seems. Everywhere around me, conspiracy. The water is poisoned too, with fluorine to make us all dumb. It's mind control, like 1984. Everything that happens is not what it seems. Everywhere around me, conspiracy. There's a new world order controlling everything, and the Illuminati too. Everything that happens is not what it seems. Everywhere around me, conspiracy. We gotta destroy the world fast, so the new one can come. Everything that happens is not what it seems. Everywhere around me, conspiracy. Careful when you're out at night, 'cause the UFOs, you know, need I say more? Remember Area 51. Everything that happens is not what it seems. Everywhere around me, conspiracy. And global warming, ha! It was 20 below. Peak oil will never run out. Everything that happens, it's not what it seems. Everything around me, conspiracy.
If you've ever seen a commercial or advertisement, you may have been witness to propaganda. Most of the time, people associate it with posters of recruitment to a military branch, but propaganda isn't simply about war. It's about money. Millions of people see them in videos, television shows, movies, and billboards across the world. You may believe your brain is unaffected by such imagery, but it does take its toll. Even if you're not the target, someone else is, and you can almost be certain they will be talking about it to you. At the end of the day, you're going to want something, and someone is always trying to sell it to you. You are not immune to propaganda, and you never will be.
Station Houston, are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
We are ready for the event.
Please stand by for a voice check from the History Channel.
Station, this is History. How do you hear me?
History Channel, we have you loud and clear. Welcome aboard the International Space Station.
Hey, glad to be here. How's it going? Good morning. Jack Osborne
It's going
here.
very well. We stay very busy up here.
Ah, good times, good times. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm a total conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat wearing, mild lunatic. So I have to ask the question, do you guys believe in intelligent life? And have you ever seen appreciate all the work you guys are doing? And that concludes our Spacebook Live.
Thanks so much. It was great to talk to you.
Are flat, what we had produced, but we'll produce it again. And I think we'll produce it again very fast. More than 3.3 million, still further, are flat. We have completed 44 flights, and there has been incredible to watch. In total, through all channels, 39.4 million, 431 million N95, 57 million, 100 million, and 10.2 million at 100 million. 600,000 more to come. We ordered 5, and they'll be coming shortly. Kokomo worker are flat. And we thought it would be a good one to play. It's amazing. And they do that. It's incredible. We have thousands of people that are doing that. They recover. They feel they have an obligation because they've gotten such great care. And a lot of them didn't think they were going to make it. The Voice of America, very important. And if you heard what's coming out of the Voice of America,
Here's a question likely to cause arguments at home. What is humankind's greatest achievement? The Age of Enlightenment? Music, perhaps? What about the Great Pyramid of Giza? Well, for many, it doesn't get any more glorious than the day Neil Armstrong stepped foot on the moon. This year marks the 50th anniversary of that remarkable feat of technology and daring. And while the moonwalkers Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin dominate our memories of that event, there's a third astronaut who deserves his place in history. Michael Collins piloted the Apollo 11 command module in lunar orbit while the other two collected moon rocks. And as Sarah Arbour reports, if it wasn't for him, one of our greatest successes would have been a monumental failure. Right now, 400 kilometres above Earth, 6 men and women are hurtling around the globe 16 times a day in the International Space Station.
And all you have to do is turn yourself and your reference changes.
Just to think it's possible is mind-blowing.
I am working on the Angie X cancer trials up here.
It's an extraordinary existence for the astronauts who are working on more than 200 different experiments in space. But they need help back down on Earth.
Copy that. All previous science has been downloaded to ground and you are go to...
And it's here in Cologne, West Germany, that Andrea Boyd, a remarkable Aussie engineer, spends her days speaking with them, from the European Space Agency's Mission Control.
Yep, that sounds like a plan to us, Alex. Many thanks.
No worries, mate.
Yeah, do they love talking to an Aussie?
They do, yeah. I have to say, a couple of the crews have tried to do a bit of an accent back to me, which is funny. Alex, who was just up there, would often put "no worries, mate" at the end of his calls to me. And yeah, he'd also add "good as gold" was one of his favourite phrases to say. It was great.
35-year-old Andrea always wanted a career in space. Luckily, in her lifetime, it's something that's been possible. But it wasn't that long ago that space exploration was still the stuff of science fiction.
Astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and then Mike Collins.
This year is the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11 blasting off to the moon. But in terms of technology, it feels like a millennia has passed. Back in July 1969, there were no such things as mobile phones, home computers, or even the internet.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
So, as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to ever walk on the moon, their extraordinary achievement turned the pair into instant worldwide heroes. But there was a third man on Apollo 11. Michael Collins didn't make headlines for stepping onto the moon, but he was the backbone of the mission.
Did I have the best seat on Apollo 11? No. Was I happy with the seat I did have? Yes, I really was. And to be any small part of that suited me very, very well. And besides, I was their ticket home. They couldn't get home without me.
So you had ultimately the biggest responsibility.
Yes, yes.
Michael is now 88, but age hasn't affected his razor-sharp mind and quick wit.
There's camera.
She doesn't know who she is unless you do that to her? Okay.
We need to remind them constantly, Michael.
Okay.
Michael trained as a fighter pilot, but always dreamt of flying in space. Back then, it was still unknown who would make the best astronauts.
I mean, what sort of people should they be? Who should you select? And all sorts of crazy notions came out of the closets. For example, they said, well, there's no air up there, and mountain climbers are used to a very thin atmosphere, so we maybe ought to get mountain climbers. Other people said, well, it's dangerous. Maybe we ought to pick, bullfighters would be good.
During the lunar landing, while Neil and Buzz were picking up moon rocks, Michael's job was to stay on board the command module orbiting the moon.
Not since Adam has any human known such solitude as Mike Collins is experiencing during the 47 minutes of each lunar revolution when he's behind the moon.
You were orbiting on the far side of the moon in absolute pitch black, complete darkness.
Yeah, the food was terrible, but I enjoyed my time behind the moon. It's a more rugged place and not a very comfortable place.
Columbia, this is Houston, reading you loud and clear, over.
When you circled back to the bright side of the moon, what was Earth like?
Being very close to the moon was very impressive in many ways, but the moon is nothing compared to our home planet. It was it. It was center stage. It was any little thing, blue of the ocean, white of the clouds, little streaks of tan that we call continents. It's about the size of your thumbnail if you hold it out in front.
One of those streaks of tan was Australia.
We paid absolutely no attention whatsoever to Australia for 2/3 of the time. The other 1/3 of the time, Australia owned us. We needed Australia. You were our guidance. You were part of our flight because you had this gigantic antenna at Parkes.
Little old Australia, down under.
Down under, yes. We needed it badly. They were our source of information. They told us where we were, so Australia went to the moon with us in that regard.
Collector, I run into...
While Neil and Buzz definitely had the starring roles on the moon, Michael Collins had the most important job of all. He was tasked with bringing them safely home. And it all came down to a single tricky manoeuvre: redocking the lunar module. One wrong decision could have led to disaster.
That was the part of it that I worried the most about, was if they didn't get off at all, I couldn't go and rescue them. I went home by myself. If they got off into some strange orbit, not the correct one, then I could come and rescue them sometimes, but not in other times. And I had around my neck on a little rope, a 8x10 notebook, which had inside it 18 different cases, possibilities.
And you had to be prepared for all of them.
Well, as best we could. I confess that of those 18, there were a couple that I thought were so far out they would not really ever happen, and I'm not sure I could have handled them. They were very complicated.
Thankfully, the reconnection was smooth and uneventful. But once back down on Earth, instead of being able to enjoy their hero status, the 3 astronauts were initially treated like aliens.
We were put into quarantine for 2 weeks. Some of our scientists were worried about the pathogens that we might have brought back from the moon. They possibly would be dangerous to humankind. So their solution to that was to put us inside a hermetically sealed container with a gigantic colony of white mice. The white mice lived, we were okay. White mice died, we were in deep trouble. Of course, I was checking on them. There were too many of them to give names to, but they became my friends. And
the mice survived.
The mice did beautifully, yes, thank you. Love those mice.
Half a century on from Apollo 11's groundbreaking mission, space travel is almost taken for granted.
So from Little Adelaide to Cologne and the International Space Station.
Yes. I definitely should have paid more attention to German in high school. I thought, when am I ever going to need this?
And people like Andrea Boyd have successfully made it their career.
When did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
Pretty early, I have to say. Star Trek came on, a new series, when I was about 10, and I watched that every week and adored it and learnt the word engineering. So I was like, all right, if I do engineering, one day I'll figure out how to do something with space.
7 years ago, Andrea landed the job of flight controller here at the European Space Agency's Mission Control.
So this is where the space magic happens?
Absolutely. So it's a very multinational collaborative environment here.
Are you the only Australian in Mission Control?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I didn't realise that until I arrived here. For the astronauts, it makes the accent more distinctive, and it's a fun inside joke between us.
It's her job to support the 6 astronauts living on the International Space Station, which has been orbiting Earth now for nearly 20 years.
So you're problem solving here on Earth for something that's happening in space?
Absolutely, it's the ultimate engineering.
I've seen them fit all of the astronauts in here, really? About 6 or 7.
Back in Cologne, they use this space station replica for training new astronauts.
So this is the astronauts' office?
That's right. So we've got the Japanese laboratory, the US laboratory.
And all of these are all attached, aren't they?
Yeah, it's very important in space. If you were to take this cap off, it would float away and you might not find it again. It's a very big space station, about the size of a 5-bedroom house, and 4 bedrooms worth of those are science laboratories. Just keep moving forward and it'll more or less dock.
I've missed it.
Back down again. Yeah.
Ultimately, for this Aussie space junkie, the job allows her to do and see what the rest of us can only fantasise about.
You really have a window to the world, just from your desk here and to outer space.
Yeah, you can see just glorious views of the Earth as you're going over, and I always try and look up when we're flying over Australia as well, and you get to see around 16 sunrises and sunsets per day from the orbital laboratory too.
So what other secrets can you divulge to us Earthlings?
No, we don't really have secrets in space. Everything that we do on the space station is broadcast live on the internet 24/7. And anytime you hear an Aussie accent, it's me.
Much has changed since Michael Collins flew on Apollo 11. But the retired astronaut still keeps a keen eye
on the future of space travel. And he says we need to think further, far beyond the moon.
So Mars has always been my destination, my favorite one, and and going back to the moon is certainly an interesting detour, but I would prefer that we set sail directly for Mars.
And that mission is really essential, in your view, for the future of humankind?
No.
Why do you think it's necessary then? Why do we need to go there, just to explore?
Flying in space is not necessary, I don't think. It's something that we have in us. We go out at night and we look up into the sky. We see things that we don't know what they are about. We are curious. We want to see infinity, perhaps almost to visit infinity. To me, it's an intangible, but it's a part of being a human being, is this feeling of it's part of, it's there to see, to go, to see, to touch, to smell, to understand.
Hello, I'm Sarah Arbo. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.
The Republicans are hammering away on this handshake that the president had with Hugo Chavez, and whether it conveyed some kind of lack of toughness on his part.
Do you think Hugo Chavez or anyone else in the world thinks that Barack Obama shaking hands with a man who's invited to a conference with him, who's president of another country, who walks up to him and shakes his hand, is revealing anything but weakness? Do you think they think that's weakness? I think it expresses confidence.
There are now 4 spacecraft which are beyond the orbit of Neptune and Pluto, Pioneers 10 and 11, Voyagers 1 and 2, 4 vehicles of our species plummeting into the interstellar dark. Now, of all those worlds, we have no indication of life. For me, that underscores the rarity and preciousness of the Earth and the life upon it. And you can see it looks like more than a dot, but it is in fact less than a pixel. You can see that it is slightly blue, and this is where we live, on a blue dot. On that blue dot, that's where everyone you know and everyone you ever heard of and every human being who ever lived out their lives. It's a very small stage in a great cosmic arena. Just speaking for myself, I think this perspective underscores our responsibility to preserve and cherish that blue dot, the only home we have.
Well, I nearly pissed me dacks when I seen this vision of Russia's lunar rover from 1970. I mean, it's equally as fake as NASA, but have a bloody look at this thing. It looks like a rice cooker on wheels. And have a gander at this bozo with his joystick, thinking he's playing on an old bloody Atari 2600. And then when your rice is cooked, the lid comes up automatically. Dig in, fellas. And who the bloody hell's filming this shit on an unmanned flight? And have a look what the rice cooker arrived in. Bloody hell. Surely the Russian public, or anyone for that matter, didn't believe this shit. How's it going here, boys? Yeah, pretty good, boss. Just pressing random buttons and looking like I'm doing fuck all. Hey, Dimitri, can you print us out some photos, mate? Not a worry, mate. I'll just fire up the dot matrix printer right now. And here's our closing shot with the blob of Play-Doh in the background. Gee whiz.
Fun fact. A top secret government-made vaccine that cures religious fundamentalism.
when I come on to the world. That's when the light and touch the soul. As your eyes, you can see the stuff inside looking you at me. It's like a dirty it's like a dusty wind. And it's like a dusty I'm a rebel. I'm a rebel. That don't be the traffic is screaming. Until people start winning. That makes me go crazy. And it seems like we're bleeding. The police are screaming. Sounds like I'll be dreaming. Sounds like somebody's screaming. I'm a rebel. I conditionally accept your offer upon presentation. Any genuine accusatory charges instrument for my protection. And upon people scream, I'm not the priority. Security and order having the priority. Security and allowing them to express me not genuine. I'm a rebel. 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 Shout out to Lady Ganja. I've been doing it so long. If anybody knows she's alright, hit me up, you know.
Ay, fucking funny dancer.
Gay times, they sure are. Have you heard of Sodom and Gomorrah? It's a real event that happened, and it shows what God thinks about sexual immorality, like homosexuality and perverting the gender, things that are very popular in our world now. Antoni Porowski is an actor and a homosexual man seen on Gay Times magazine here. And here he is seen looking nothing at all like the world that we see every day, doing one-eye symbolism, the Eye of Horus, the slam dunk version where he covers half his face, darkens one eye utterly, doing the Eye of Horus, doing the Eye of Horus, doing the Eye of Horus. Here he is waving his Pride of Sin flag. That's what it is. God calls homosexuality sin, so when you have pride of sin, that's like a double whammy. Gender is a thing, right? Men want to dress like women and women want to dress like men. God calls this an abomination. This is not hate speech. This is me telling people the truth of the world we're all living in, all of us. Jesus Christ is the only way. He came to redeem us, forgive us of sin. But if we reject him, he's not going to do that. We shouldn't stay in sin in the world. We should want to be good and faithful servants. Trans people belong in sports. Well, this is great advice. Those in charge do that hand sign. That's an interesting pose that we've never seen before on this channel. Those in charge do that hand sign. God bless you, everyone. Winnie Harlow is a famous model. I can't remember the name of the condition, but they have a condition where their skin is light and dark. I've mentioned before that, she's an inspiration to people, right? We all have challenges in this life. No one looks the same. We all look a little different. Here's a little girl that is idolizing Winnie Harlow. Has some artwork on her wall, and Winnie Harlow says, she's glad that this little girl looks up to her and idolizes her. This is a good thing, right? Except looks can be deceiving. Like Freemasons and Shriners, the Shriners have the children's hospitals. They give so much money and time to children's hospitals. In the world's eyes, they go, oh, these Shriners and Masons, they're such good people giving to children's hospitals. So what if they're involved in occult activities, right? So I mentioned Winnie Harlow, the famous model, because this little girl is looking up to her, and I want to say that looks can be deceiving. Here's the artwork that the little girl has of Winnie Harlow. Hey, what's Winnie doing here? She's doing one eye symbolism, the Eye of Horus. They're a famous person in a fallen world. Of course they're doing these signs and symbols. They put a flower over one eye, their hand over one eye, I don't know, some clothing or whatever, a head scarf over their eye. They're hanging out with Shil Nye, the actor guy. How great! Yoga and meditation. Here's some artwork of them with their third eye open, and they say higher consciousness. And they're doing the Uttara Bodhi Mudra, the gesture of Satan's fake enlightenment. So we went from this little girl, how nice is this? Little girl looking up to someone who has some challenges in life. They're a model now and successful. What a nice story this is. Uttara Bodhi Mudra. God bless you, everyone.
It doesn't have to be this way. We can beat this virus. We'll beat it with the facts and the science. And we'll need to build vaccine confidence in our communities. And not just for the COVID vaccine, but for other critical and recommended vaccines, such as for measles and whooping cough moving forward. We will beat COVID because we know the Earth is not flat.
We will beat COVID because we know the Earth is not flat. And because some flat earthers, especially those in places of influence, choose to peddle fiction, we're losing more of our loved ones today than we were a few months ago. We will beat COVID because we know the Earth is not flat. We will beat COVID because we know the Earth is not flat.
She said it's none of my business, but it breaks my heart. Dropped a dozen cheap roses in my shopping cart. I made it out to the truck without breaking down. Everybody knows you in a speed trap town. And it's a Thursday night, but there's a high school game. Sneak a bottle up the bleachers and forget my name. And these 5A bastards run a shallow cross. It's a boy's last dream and a man's first loss. Never did occur leave till the night when there's no one left to ask if I'm alright. I'll sleep until I'm straight enough to drive, then decide if there's anything that can't be left behind. Doctor said Daddy couldn't make it a year, but the holidays are over and he's still here. How long can they keep you in the ICU? Veins through the skin like a faded tattoo. He was a tough state trooper till a decade back, when that girl who was her mama caused his heart attack. It never did occur to me to leave till the night when I realized he'll never be alright. I signed my name and I said my last goodbye, and decide that there's nothing left that can't be left behind. The road got blurry when the sun came up, so I slept a couple hours in my pickup truck. Had a cup of coffee at an Indian mound, 1,000 miles away from that speed trap town. Never did occur to me to leave. It never did occur to me to leave.
السلام عليكم. الحين اتريق، تشوفون كل شيء يطير هني، حتى هاي البندق ها. الخبز بالفضاء يكون شكل سليم وكعبات صغير، لازم اكله بلقمه واحده. لازم من الاشياء نعلقها عشان ما تطير. ونسكر الاشياء عشان ما يطلع منها الاكل اللي فيها. اليوم انا اكلت اكله رصيص ماكاشا الريوق، لازم نضيف لها ماي، والماي الحار نضيفها هني خارج الجهاز. طبعا في كميه معينه لازم نضيف لها ماي ونطريه وعقب نقدر ناكل. شوفوا شكل الماي او السوائل في الفضاء كيف. وايد صعب التحكم، عشان شي لازم نشرب بهاي الطريقة. مع السلامة.
Flat. We couldn't figure it out.
Flat. I'm flat.
Flat. We couldn't figure it out.
Flat. I'm flat.
Flat. We couldn't figure it out.
Flat. I'm flat.
He basically said, I want you to go sell LNG like the world looks flat. Go get this done. Here's what he said when I was sitting in his office getting interviewed back in December of 2016. He said, Perry, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go sell LNG like the world looks flat. Go get this done. Here's what he said when I was sitting in his office like the world looks flat. He basically said, I want you to go sell LNG like the world looks flat. Go get this done. Here's what he said when I was sitting in his office getting interviewed back in December of 2016. He said, Perry, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go get this done. Here's what he said when I was sitting in his office. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to. How dare you? Go do. How dare you? What we've done. He basically said, LNG like the world looks flat.